Okay, enough of that. Evan Dixon, Radio Made Easy. What's going on?
I'm here in the flesh.
Let me hear your radio voice.
This is it. This is all you get.
Come on.
It's not that kind of radio.
Just try it.
What do you want me to say? Welcome to Special Operations Equipment.
There we go. How did we meet?
Here. I've been a customer a long time and Tactical Response alumni, and came to the shop probably about 6 years ago. Bought gear.
And a year ago, maybe 2 years ago?
Yeah, about not even that long. I think it was June.
What did you say?
Well, my buddy Jody here was bringing people out for gear for you. People kept bringing him your radios to buy.
Oh shit! Yeah, I do have a bunch of bullshit sitting around, don't I?
So they're like, "I'll take this pouch and this radio," and he's like, "Those are John's. Put it back." And it happened enough times that he's like, "Evan, you got."
And they have to search for that. Here. It's not like sitting out in a shelf like with the for sale shit. They went somewhere to get that.
So I'm the comms guy for our local group, and I've always done it. And he's like, "You got an opportunity here. What do you think?" So I brainstormed on it. It was alumni weekend, maybe, and made a logo, built a site like within a couple of days, and I was like, I'm just going to make it easy for people to get into this. So that is the barrier. People are overwhelmed. They buy the radios maybe, and they sit them in a box and never touch them. And you're part of a large group of people there. And I was one of those guys, I guess, until I jumped in. But I saw an opportunity. Nobody's doing that. Nobody's pre-programming and, custom pre-programming, like to your location, to your needs, and then grab all the stuff that makes it work well, all the right antennas and batteries, and just kind of the Hall of Fame setup. So I came up with kind of a good, better, best of handhelds, good, better, best of mobiles, and started doing classes recently too. So just kind of taking it and run with it. But anyway, I came up with the idea. I told you about it, and you're like, you won't do it. You didn't really know me yet. I don't really say I'm going to do something and not do it, but you
know why I say that to people?
Probably because they don't.
No, I say it in the hopes that it's like, oh yeah, well I'll show you.
Okay.
Jaeger said I was standing in a line at Walmart in the Garden Center, and I was talking to James, and I'm like, man, I need to get the fuck out of California. He's like, come to Tennessee, and I'm like, do you guys have cell phones? Like, are you talking on CDs? Yeah. The question I actually asked: do you have Starbucks? Do you have books? Do you have Barnes and Noble? Do you have Starbucks? And do you have UPS? And he's like, fuck you. And he goes, you should come out here. I go, I'll be there. He goes, you won't come out here. And all I heard is, I'll double dog dare you. And like, we were out here 2 days later. Yeah. And that's my hopes, right?
Okay.
And you're like, hey, I got this idea for a business I'm going to start. I'm like, you're not going to start a business.
Yeah. Yeah. There was probably some component of that was inspiring. I saw the opportunity, so I've ran a couple of other entrepreneurial endeavors myself, never full time.
What were they?
Web design. I started fixing computers for everybody that I knew when I was in the 9th grade, and making like $75 an hour, just installing Wi-Fi routers and taking viruses off of old ladies' computers.
Are you good at it?
Yeah.
Are you still good at it?
Yeah.
And then building websites out?
Yeah, I basically am a technical problem solver. So throw something at me that is complicated and overwhelming, and I find a clear path to a solution. That's kind of how my brain works.
Nice.
So radio is just one of those things, but
are you building those bullshit WordPress sites, or are you building?
Yep. But custom.
I hate those.
Well, the great thing is they're open source, so they can't shut you down.
And then
they're hard.
And the good thing is that you have a recurring revenue stream.
Yeah, that's true.
Those people, like, I don't know how to do.
Well, the other people are doing something similar, right? Like with Shopify, you pay them instead of pay me, but it'd be the same story.
The beauty of Shopify, at least for me, is, and that's how I should be getting I should have an affiliate code with Shopify, because I'm like, if you can do Facebook, you can do this. Yep. And if you can't, your 14-year-old can.
Yep.
Yeah.
The only problem is terms of service, and when they allow you to use it for now. So
yeah, you're absolutely right.
I should been the case until recently, but you got to really be concerned about that.
We had some patches that had been on the website, since the old building, so at least 7 years ago.
Patches, okay.
Patches.
Patches has a different meaning in the tech world.
Confederate flag patches have been on there forever. I don't even know that we had any, and I got 2 terms of violation, service violations, and I'm like, wait a minute, what's this email from? This looks like it was the exact same words Facebook used.
Yeah,
and
just
I'm always
like getting
in
a
trouble.
strike on YouTube or
Yeah,
on Facebook.
I'm always in trouble with them.
Yep.
So, yeah, it'll come. The time will come. You're right.
Well, and it's, I do it a lot for customers now that already know they can't go to Shopify. They can't use Square. They can't use Stripe. They can't use PayPal because
Like
they're
weed
already
guys or something.
No, firearms.
Okay.
Anybody that runs in that space that directly sells a firearm or a knife or any kind of weapon, it's just not going to work.
And then have you bumped into any of the issues where they've reclassified the 3-digit codes for the credit cards for businesses? It used to all fall under sporting goods.
Yeah.
And now they have ammunition and they have firearms. So I've had some customers on live feed say that they've gone to use their card and it declines. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had to find payment processors that don't mess around, that are 2A friendly. And so there are a few, but they're not easy to work with. Everything's
find your Middle East owners of gas stations,
mm-hmm.
and they all have the merchants. Like those dudes. Like when we pushed, we were at some Rogue Food conference, and there's a dude selling that. And I'm like, what's your main? Who's your main customers? And that's what it is. It's the gas stations.
I wonder why.
Because they just don't.
They don't qualify for other.
They
stuff,
don't qualify, or they're just not. They're immigrants that have moved here.
Right.
So
they don't have the paperwork or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, so I do plenty of that stuff. But the radio thing, you kind of, it was a Self-Reliance Festival, SOE birthplace.
That's cool.
So I showed up the next time with it. I mean,
but you showed up in effect, man. You came like
I don't play around.
You came like you'd been doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, so I showed up with a bunch of stuff I'd sold a ton before I even got here, thanks to you guys.
Well, you were here. You were here before Self-Reliance Festival.
Yep.
And you sold all your shit while you were here
at James's party.
And you're like, and Bob wanted to buy a bunch of those radio boxes.
That got me pumped when I met Bob and got to show my stuff. Like, it was my own personal gear.
It wasn't even ready to go yet.
No, it was just a fun project I did. He's like, okay, can you build me 3 of them with 10 times the amount of crap
Here's
in it?
Here's some resistors and some capacitors. One day this is going to be a radio. I'll take 24. How much are they?
Yeah. Whips out the money. Yeah, that was inspiring. That definitely gave me kind of seed money to...
Yeah.
Not just literal money, but, the motivation to be like, okay, this is real. People really want to do this. If there's one of him, there's 5 more, 10 more. So,
well, the chances are the dude like that knows those other 5 or 10.
Yeah, and that has been true. I have a lot of people like that to thank for publicizing and building those relationships for me.
So is that full-time income now?
No, not yet, but it's very closely might have to become full-time income as of.
Do you want that to be?
Yeah, I want to work for myself. I don't know if it will be this or a hybrid of the 4 or 5 things I do, but I want to solve problems and answer to the customer myself and not build somebody else's dream for my whole life,
For real, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I know you get that.
Do you are you doing any advertising at all?
No.
Because you don't need it yet.
Yeah, I'm about to need it, but I've kind of been at the pace that I could run with the margin I had for my full-time gig. And I ran some ads, in the early days just to play with it, but
like
nothing
targeted
serious.
marketing?
Yeah.
Fucking get good at that, and people will pay you to do that.
I've done some of that too for dentists, and yeah, I've had a broad range of experience, so it makes it, I can kind of find my lane.
Yeah.
Give me a project. So my only concern with it is I don't want to get bored, but I have had so many cool ideas. Like even driving here, I just got my notepad on the console, just head up, but just writing everything that comes to mind, upsells and class ideas and all kinds of stuff. I just, it's been and I love that there's not a saturated market of people doing anything like it. Most of the people in this space are insufferable. Just nightmare people.
Yeah, but I mean, the radio guys.
Yeah.
But most of the people in most of the prepper space, right? It's easy to take a thing and sell it and brand it as this package.
Right.
But what you do actually requires thought and skill, right? And you're delivering it in a manner where the end user needs less of that.
Yep.
You have the package together. So what about all the guys that are like, that's horse shit. That's illegal. You don't have your code. Who's the dude when you key that radio up? Who's the dude that's going to show up at your door?
Other radio guys.
That's right.
Yeah.
They're going to DX you, and they live for that shit. And typically, maybe not always, but typically they're going to be like, hey, You broke the
Please
FCC.
Yeah.
You need to join. My name's Gomer. That's what they call those guys. They're Gomers, right?
Elmer.
Elmer? Is it
Yeah.
Elmer? Okay,
Yeah.
same thing. And they want you to have a fucking license. So what's a license cost? $38 or something?
Well, it depends. They're cheap, but yeah. The big problem is the test, not the cost.
Is it really a problem though? Because there's an online study
hard.
guide.
It's hard. It's hard for normal people.
So online study guide, they publish all 3 variants of the test or whatever it is.
Yeah, there's 400 questions. They pick 35 of them. You got to get 26 right.
But the beauty of it, when you do the online study guide, even if you know nothing about it, once you see it a couple times, you know what the answer is.
Well, you do, and I do, but that's
but
not
I didn't.
Everybody.
I didn't though. I didn't.
I'm just saying, the people I try to serve, not all of them are capable of passing that test. It's an IQ issue. I'm not being demeaning, but they don't have the capacity to memorize 400 questions on electrical engineering.
With a 4.5 output radio, which is what those are for the most part, right?
Right.
I mean, how far? That's not really going to travel that far. I mean,
with repeaters, 30-mile radius, but without that, a mile or two.
But a dude keying up's not going to get the repeater.
Yeah, he is.
He is?
Yeah.
And he's going to be able to speak through the repeater?
Yeah. And that's where you get into trouble.
Okay, I didn't know that.
If you agitate the guys on the repeaters, that's when they start looking for you. If you're just using it radio to radio, nobody gives a crap.
Simplex mode.
Yeah. As long as you're not on the emergency simplex frequency, like there's a specified emergency one. If you stay off of that, I mean, you might run into somebody, but the main thing I tell people is just don't interfere and move around,
So there's some like VX7Rs.
Yep.
And I think there was some 6s at the time that would do military aircraft band.
Yep.
They clip something in them or do something
with them.
I do that.
Yep.
And
Mars mod.
Mars mod. Okay, is that what that is?
Yep. And I do that modification to every radio I sell to make it. They basically come handicapped because of the SEC. They're not allowed to transmit even on like GMRS frequencies. So, clip that diode off the circuit board, and it now does what it should do out of the box, like taking the governor off a car. And so I do that. I add the right stuff to it. Yep, GMRS.
Once you open that case up, is it easy to put that case back, or is there adhesives in there or anything? Or?
Depends on the radio. It can be a real surgical experiment, but I've done it like 50 times now. But I ruined a couple of radios, I'll be honest.
Okay.
But, yeah.
So handheld, like HT, handy talkies.
Yep.
You can have anything you want. What's the one you want?
You kind of have to ask for what, but for me, a VX6R from Yaesu is kind of the go-to. That would be my best. The reason is it's tiny and it's waterproof, and it has a truly waterproof headset connection. It's threaded with an O-ring, so it's submersible. If you're not worried about running it on a plate carrier or getting it wet, that opens up a lot more options. Now, the new hotness is to run digital encrypted, and that's cool. People cannot understand how to use an analog baofeng yet. I'm not willing to inundate them with yet another level of complication. So I am not building equipment for people to go, overthrow governments with and run covert operations. This is just comms, like everyday useful comms. Like we're going to have them here at this event this weekend. There's no test for the GMRS license.
You can talk.
Yeah.
They know you're here.
Okay.
The satellite follows.
That's something to mention is, that barrier doesn't exist for GMRS, so it's something I recommend. You just pay the fee. It works for 10 years.
GMRS is like family channel radio. That's your blister pack radios a lot of times also.
They're compatible, but it's something you can make work on any of the radios I sell, and it's 22 dedicated frequencies. So instead of having hundreds or thousands to pick from, you've only got 22, but it's a good place to start just to get working legally if that matters to you.
Can I do GMRS on my VX6Rs?
Yep, with the Mars mod.
Got it. Okay. There are repeaters for GMRS out there. There's portables you can carry too for them.
Yep, there's mobile repeaters, and then in our area we have like 3 epic GMRS repeaters that cover almost 50 miles.
Who put those up? Why are they there?
The GMRS people, just enthusiasts,
just
amateur
dudes that
people.
Wanted them.
Yep. Now they're not. We just ran into this. We did a check-in on it. I picked a late night, once a month check-in, and we got reprimanded by the owner.
What did he say?
He came on, gave his phone number, and said, "Whoever's in charge of this, call me tomorrow." So I called him, 80-year-old man. This is like the most epic GMRS repeater on earth. Like, just insane setup, perfectly positioned to cover the greater Charlotte, North Carolina area.
So it's not just money, there's some knowledge there.
Yeah, and he's kind of got an ego because he owns the Mac Daddy, and he would have preferred I ask permission to use a public repeater.
Can we say sorry and please next time?
No, I didn't say sorry. I just said, well, as far as I know, it's public access, right? And he said, yeah, but he heard the word team, and he got concerned.
Got it.
He said, I hope you're not preppers, those
Oh,
preppers.
shit.
So,
Oh, wow.
yeah. So,
how are you a radio dude like that and not a prepper? So
exactly.
What would it
and
cost?
80.
What would it cost to duplicate his setup?
It's really access to the geographical terrain.
Okay.
Like, you need to lease a spot or know a guy that has a tower where all the radio stations are.
I didn't even think about the tower you got to put up.
Yeah.
Yeah, we wanted to have a zip line
This
tower.
tower is on Crowder's Mountain. So it's on a mountain in a non-mountainous area, like just a complete...
Is his name Crowder?
Maybe old man Crowder. Yeah, but we recently saw that he's turning it off when drunk guys use it. So he's literally got a remote to turn it off when people are using it that he doesn't like.
That's his whole life.
That's
man.
great for, like, this is an emergency
yeah,
service.
what if there
You're
is-
turning it
yeah,
off.
yeah.
So we quickly pivoted to a new plan. So HF is infrastructure independent. You can talk hundreds or thousands of miles just radio to radio. So
Because of power?
Because of
Skip.
different behavior of the radio waves, they bounce off the atmosphere instead of line of sight. So once you get below a certain frequency, that's how they behave. And so it's a massive investment per person. You had $30 radio, now you're up to $1,000, but you don't owe anything to anybody.
And loaded coils and Buddha pole antennas and stuff.
Yeah, it's a big, long 63-foot wire called in-fed half-wave antenna that you can hang in a tree, and so you need a lot more stuff. And it's kind of like moving from pistol to sniper rifle. It's a whole different world, but yeah, that's where we're moving to for that purpose. But
So are you going to start? You're to a point where you almost need to do advertising because you've expended the customers, or
I don't know if that's the case. I'm going to invest in some video production for my classes to kind of pimp that a little more and show the cool factor of that, because it's hard to make this sound sexy. I make graphics.
it's pretty easy to make it look sexy, though. I mean, especially with like
So I'm just
nine-line
going to
chatter
hire a
and
guy
stuff.
to come shoot some B-roll during a class and then put together a 30-second promo vid, and I think I'll just push that and try to get... My big thing with the class is I'm going to people. So you save the travel expense and time. If you can get 6 guys together, I'll come do this 0 to hero class. Start from 0, walk away fully competent in 2 days. It'd take you a year to do that on your own.
You'll do that for 6 people. How many would you
Minimum of
prefer to
6.
have?
As many as you can fit, but
Okay.
I mean 20 would probably be pushing it for the logistics. It's scenario based and
And you're about to
hands-on.
do one of those at TAC Response.
Yep. Monday and Tuesday is my first one here. I've done it twice, and this is my 3rd version of it.
How come we're not doing one here?
Well, they asked first, but I'm happy to do one here. I intentionally put it right next to SRF because I'm here already.
So we just booked 2 refuge medical classes
I saw
back
that.
to back.
Yeah.
I'm sure that, and people are scared of tourniquets and shit, right? But
Right,
I am
right.
sure
Yeah,
that dudes with a $35 baofeng that they don't know how to use
Yep.
will already show up.
that'd be great. I'm trying to do a lot more of that. Obviously, it's more profitable than selling radios, right? There's a limited margin on stuff, but it's more scalable. So I'm trying to figure that out. There's only one of me.
Are you able to get all the components and parts and cables and headsets and stuff that you want?
Yeah, I've had some hiccups. The market is weird especially with Yaesu recently. They just get sold out everywhere, and they won't do business with me directly. I've got to go through the same people everyone else goes through.
So when I wanted to buy a bunch more Yaesus, right? I probably had a dozen, and I
Yep.
wanted, another solid 6 at least.
Yeah.
So I actually bought them through Gigaparts,
Yep.
and
Yep.
they didn't
They're
have
great.
them, and then they got them, and then they
I
showed
usually
up.
just back order stuff, but I've never seen that, but recently everything's on back order
Because
missing.
it all comes from China.
It's Japanese, so I don't know if their supply chain. It's got to be. I mean, the components are Chinese. The actual pieces, I'm sure, but they're assembled in Japan, so they're much higher quality. Um, yeah, it's an interesting game to be in with the supply chain stuff currently. You know, it's like third world. The world has become third world on that front recently.
Will those digital radios? Can we communicate with the 6Rs?
Yeah, if in analog mode though,
Okay.
can't use the digital.
If it keyed up and I was talking to somebody digital and that keyed up, I won't hear it because I'm not on that channel.
You'll hear and a noise.
Okay.
Sounds like a modem. You know.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. And that's what all the tactical guys are pushing right now, and for good reason. Like, if you don't want people to listen to you, of course you need to encrypt it, or you need it to be at least.
Well, if you don't want Bob down the road to
And
listen to you.
I think they have a good point on that front, but the radios they're recommending are literally 10 times the cost, or they're military surplus that comes and goes. You can't just order one. You got to camp out on eBay.
Give me an
6
example
months.
of the military radio version.
So, like an EF Johnson 5100 is a real affordable military surplus, or maybe not even military, like public service surplus.
What's the military call that? What is it? A PCR or PRC?
I don't even know.
Okay.
It's not my wheelhouse. But I know like Harris makes a big old huge stuff like that, but similar to that. But it's like land mobile radio that you'd use for fire, EMS. If they were on UHF or VHF, which now most of them are going up into the 800 megahertz range, but if they're old, they're selling them off in like packs of 10 on eBay. So people are picking those up, using them for consumers instead of public service. And the problem is you can't just order one up. So if you want to order one up, you're talking like a Motorola you can't even program it without their stamp of approval. You have to be a licensed dealer.
Yeah, I remember seeing cradles that you had to put them in for programming. Like I think
they're excellent.
Like that.
They're excellent, but they're for people that are in government that aren't looking at the price tag.
So what about like the job site radios that Motorola puts out that you buy from Home Depot, for instance?
Yeah, those are. They're just limited. You can't program them. Usually they're on business band, so you buy a frequency allocation from the FCC and program it in for your Walmart or your Home Depot.
Got it.
And some of those you can sit in the parking lot with your baofeng. And I was just at a grocery store at a Target and heard them talking inside on the same frequency me and my wife were using. It was a FRS, like the same thing that would come in a blister pack radio.
So it very well might be what they're using.
It is. So you can make it work. And that's my big thing is like, I want to see people use these to solve real problems in life. That's what my talk's going to be on tomorrow is just it's kind of like stocking your pantry. If you're a prepper, like stocking your pantry is great for the end of the world. It's also great for like today because you don't have to run to the store if you're out of something. Mm-hmm. You can solve a real problem, add a convenience to your life that you don't otherwise have, and it's also good for the end of the world. But it has a dual purpose. So do
what
radios.
You use, yeah. That's how you sell your wife on prepping.
Yep.
The everyday.
I got a good one on that. I don't have to do much selling, but
yeah, same.
Yep.
Yeah,
but
same.
it's I feel for the guys who, as you said, picked the wrong one.
That's not what I said. I said you married the wrong bitch.
That's right. You say it best. But yeah, I think I'm grateful to not be in that boat.
For real. So I want a 10-foot antenna on my truck.
Yeah.
So can I have a CB?
Yeah.
Is there a place for them anymore?
Yeah, it's a good way to establish comms with the people who are using them. It's a good option to have, but I don't think it has a whole lot of utility other than for the already established truckers. It's fading from what I hear. They're going to GMRS or just plain cellular now. So.
When you see the old truck stop that has the sign that says CBs and you pull off, there's not even a truck stop there anymore.
Yeah. I don't even know what it was like before. It predates me, but I think I modify my HF radios to work on CB, so it's just an AM mode on a HF band, really. So you can interoperate without having to get a dedicated CB. It's a good thing to have. You should have everything. Listening is where you gain the most. So if you can listen, you can do that without a license too. So, listening's where you learn and you understand what's going on and can gain a lot of information just never even hitting the transmit button. So you should have a way to listen to all things.
Awesome.
One of the coolest things is these little $30 dongles, USB dongle. You can listen to everything, software-defined radio.
Okay.
And just comes up on the screen. You can literally visualize the whole radio spectrum and see activity and scroll over to it and listen for $30. You don't have to buy anything.
Just off a laptop.
Yep.
Cool.
Or even a cell phone. So.
And then what about like PSK31 and stuff like that?
Is that an encryption protocol? I'm not familiar with that.
It's like a little modem you buy that you plug in, and it
Okay.
basically sends a burst transmission.
Yeah, so that can be emulated over a phone or a laptop now. So
Okay.
that's one of many digital modes that you can use. So there's an app called AndFL Message on Android that you can literally hold it up next to your baofeng and send text over the air, and the other guy can decrypt it and or decode it. And so that's something you can mess with. And there's a lot of guys on radio that love that whole thing, because you can send a big data dump in seconds that would take 10 minutes to say it. So
And the average person wouldn't even know it's there.
no, they
would
just
never
hear a
know to
weird
capture it.
sound.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's a great way to share information and distribute information. There is no end to it. Like, you just can keep going down the rabbit hole, which is what I need, something like that, to keep my attention. So it'll just keep getting deeper for me.
So what's next for you?
I think the focus on training is what I'm going to emphasize the next little while. I think it has a dual benefit in that it's actually going to change people and get them. Giving them a radio that works only gets you so far. The practical going through the motions and actually operating it within a team environment, that is going to get you hooked.
They're
much fun.
Never going to be able to utilize it if they don't use it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I love that aspect of it. I think I established kind of an ambassador for radio, so that I see that class of 6 as now they are their guy for their community, and it can spread a lot more. And if I sell them gear, that's cool, but I think you walk away from the class, you don't really need me anymore for that part. But that's a lot of fun to just see people having fun with it and seeing the practical use. Like, we had the world's safest lunch pickup in the last class. We took like a 2-car convoy, all decked out with comms, and pulled security, went and got the pizza, X-filled, like all over $30 radios, but it was a miraculously smooth thing, right? Because you're not just looking around and twiddling your thumbs. It's cool to see people get that. I think I'm going to expand on that. We've got some other ideas for more advanced classes and just keep building that out. There's nobody that's relating to like the common man. There's tons of classes, but they're all for nerds.
Right.
These are not for nerds.
Right. Practical application.
I mean, if you're a nerd, you'll still love it, but
and you're giving them access to the club.
Yep.
Right. That puts them in the club, and now you're able to use
or
that.
Or kind of circumventing the club.
Right.
Which I love to do.
So how do people find you?
RadioMadeEasy.com, or my Instagram handle is _RadioMadeEasy. Those are 2 best places. But website's always the best. Can't shut that down. So.
And you're fairly active on social media.
Yeah, I need to post a lot more, and I've got like 100 video ideas. So if this change happens that I'm anticipating, I'm going to push pretty hard on.
And what's your TikTok?
Videos. Don't have a TikTok.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I need to probably just repost with Instagram, but I'll be honest, TikTok stole like a month of my life, and I immediately cut it out when I realized my scrolling. But so that doesn't mean I can't
scroll,
post.
But take the same thing once it's put into Instagram and put it. And the reason I say that is because your hashtags get 10 times more
I've
reach.
heard.
They actually TikTok works. That's why they want to shut it down.
Yeah,
and they want you to pay to advertise, and people are bailing off of Instagram and Facebook because TikTok works.
Yeah, it gets eyeballs. I don't want to be one of the eyeballs, but I'm fine for.
Oh, you're already anybody that you're worried about.
Yeah, I don't care about that part. I just mean I don't want it to suck productive time out of my life.
Yeah, just don't look at it.
Yep. Yeah, that's a fair point. I don't even need the app. Just have it integrated with my Instagram is probably the way to go. But fair point. Need to be everywhere.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sitting down.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And
thank you for all you've done to get the word out.
What radio do you have with you right now?
VX6R.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Nice.
It's tiny, so it's easy to take everywhere.
How hard is it to bridge people from a baofeng to a VX6R?
Bridge as in make them work together?
No, get a guy that owns a $35 radio to buy a proper $250 radio.
Yeah, they're usually pretty.
Which is a trip because a lot of these dudes have like $4,000 guns.
Yep. It's a mindset thing, and they don't. In the class, we sit down and manually program a baofeng, and they quickly realize why it sucks, and then I can show them the receiver sensitivity differences, and it's just a better radio. Also, you don't rip the cable out.
Right.
It's screwed in.
It's way more durable.
So, I mean, it's a tough sell. I don't focus on trying to convert those people. I've learned, like, if they're opposed, just move. Just go to the next guy. So
right on.
All right. Appreciate it.
Well, awesome. Thank you, Evan.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I'm talking about realest, one of the realest to try. My family